Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really important document. It's called the CLUP Claims and Facts Memo.
Right. It's an analysis of the city's draft comprehensive land use plan.
Exactly. And we're also looking at notes from city planning and council meetings to get, more context.
Lots of viewpoints there.
Yeah. So our mission for you, the listener, is to unpack the main arguments here. What are the concerns? What's actually being proposed?
Get a clearer picture, basically. We'll touch on things like community input, those big population numbers, infrastructure costs.
Affordability, environment, potential conflicts, even some, let's say, memorable comments from the meetings.
Definitely some memorable ones.
Okay, so first up, community input. The city says there's broad support, but the memo kind of pushes back on that.
It does. The memo points to a city survey, but says participation was really low, like maybe 2% of residents.
2%, wow.
Yeah, and apparently the methodology might have been flawed. It seems non-residents could take it maybe multiple times even.
So not exactly a clear signal from residents then.
That's the argument in the memo. Plus, it mentions a lack of neighborhood-specific meetings, which some might see as, less grassroots input.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift to the actual numbers. Population and housing. The city's target is huge. 30,000 to 45,000 new homes by 2050.
It's a big number. And the memo puts this next to the regional projection from SEMCOG, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments.
So what do they project?
Only about 4,700 new households for the same period. So the city's goal is, 6 to 10 times higher?
6 to 10 times, that's quite a gap.
It's a significant difference, yeah. It suggests, a very different vision for growth than the regional experts anticipate, raises questions about the city's assumptions.
And building all that requires massive infrastructure upgrades, right? Water, sewer, roads, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And the memo estimates the cost could be somewhere between $2.4 and $5 billion. Billion with a B.
Okay. And the funding plan for that is?
Well, that's the key point the memo raises. It suggests there isn't really a detailed plan or identified funding source.
So the big question is, how does that get paid for? Could mean higher taxes or utility rates for current residents.
That's the potential implication, yes.
Yeah.
It's a major financial question mark hanging over the plan, according to this analysis.
The plan also talks about affordability, suggesting more building equals more affordability. But the memo challenges this too.
It does. It cites some studies suggesting that actually income levels are maybe a bigger factor in affordability than just pure housing supply.
Oh, okay.
So the concern outlined is that just building more market rate housing might not help lower income folks and could potentially even push people out without specific things like subsidies or deed restrictions.
Right, things to keep prices lower.
Uh-huh.
Now, the city's using this A20 branding. Sounds very green, but environmental concerns are raised in the memo.
Yeah, there's a bit of a disconnect highlighted there. The memo calculates the CO2 emissions from all that construction could be like adding 200,000 to 300,000 cars to the road for a year.
Wow, that doesn't sound very A20.
It contrasts with the branding, certainly. And they also mention a lack of modeling for things like flood risk or tree loss, stormwater impacts.
And didn't we see something in the meeting notes about trees being a trade-off?
Yes, that exact phrase came up in the discussions, which adds another layer to the environmental conversation.
The memo also touches on potential conflict of interest. Briefly, what's the concern there?
It points to the Planning Commission chair's ties to real estate investors, and also notes that, a lot of commission members come from development-related fields.
Suggesting maybe not enough diverse perspectives.
That's the implication raised, yeah, affecting how the plan is viewed and shaped.
And finally, there are questions about whether the plan meets legal and professional standards.
According to the memo, yes. It argues the plan lacks the kind of solid data on housing needs that Michigan law requires, and it might be missing elements recommended by the American Planning Association, sort of best practices.
Okay. And those meeting notes, they really added some color.
They certainly did.
Yeah.
You had comments like seniors not dying fast enough.
Yikes.
Historic districts called perverted outcomes. Someone suggesting we should buy the rights to the sun.
Buy the sun rights, okay.
And the idea that 75,000 new residents mean free infrastructure upgrades? No, that got corrected pretty quick.
Good.
Plus, it visions that the plan is missing a lot of data, and that infrastructure is fine if you don't count water.
If you don't count water, that's stark.
It really underscores the level of debate and maybe some fundamental questions about the plan's foundation.
So wrapping it up, the memo's central point seems to be, let's hit pause, There are just too many unanswered questions about the data, the outreach, the costs, the environmental side, maybe even ethics.
That's the core message, yeah. A call for reconsideration. And for you, the listener, this touches on things like potential impacts on your taxes, what your neighborhood might look like, the cost of living here, our local environment, and, trust in the process.
So, considering all these different angles and the serious questions raised, what do you believe are the most critical factors a community needs to weigh when planning its future? Something to think about. That's it for this deep dive.